Hi folks, this is Chris Fox at Permatex. Today we're talking about vehicle maintenance and we're going to concentrate on your car's battery. Before we do any work on the car, job safety first. Put your safety glasses on. Make sure you use some gloves to protect your hands. You might want to change your clothes, put in some older clothes because battery acid will definitely put holes in your shirt. So anyway, what we're working on today here is a 1999 Honda Civic. I've had this car for about 5 years or so. The battery itself is about 5 years old, which is about the average life of a battery. But every 6 months or so, what you want to do is you want to take a look at your battery, make sure it's in good serviceable condition. First thing you want to do is check the water level in the battery. Now this battery here, the caps are removable. Once you take this mounting bracket off, you take the caps off themselves, check the water. If it is low, top it off with distilled water. If you've got a maintenance-free battery, there's not really a whole lot you can do as far as working on it, but they usually don't give much problem as far as water loss goes. Second thing you want to do is make sure that your cable ends are tight. You also want to make sure they're nice and clean. If they are tight, you want to snug them up with a wrench. Be extremely careful when using the wrench on especially the positive cable. Make sure your wrench doesn't go too far and touch something metal, which will definitely cause a spark or maybe blow a fuse or so forth like that. Once they're snug, you want to make sure they're nice and clean. Now, if you have excessive buildup of corrosion on the cables, what you want to do first is take a brush like I've got here. This is a full nylon brush with nylon bristles, and you would take and remove the excess corrosion on here. Be careful about using a metal or wire brush. What could happen then is you could actually cross the terminals over, maybe cause a spark problem that way. With a nylon bristle brush, you're safe. Once it's nice and clean, what you do then is get some Permatex Battery Cleaner. Make sure you shake your can up very well, get everything mixed up together, and you spray this on the terminals themselves. Now, this is positive cable on this side. I want to make sure I lift my boot up. Make sure I get a lot of it in there. Let it sit for about 5 minutes or so. And once the bubbling action stops, it's pretty much done its job. And what I'll do then is I'll get some clean water and I'll rinse off the battery terminal ends themselves. Make sure you get all of the chemical off of there. Make sure you wash it down really well. You don't want any of that water settling in the battery tray. It'll cause the battery tray to rust out. Now, once I have this on here, you could take some compressed air, dry it off. You also take it, what I'm doing here is take a paper towel. Make sure you dry the terminals like this right here. Also, make sure that you clean the top of the battery itself. You don't want any residual acid or corrosion left behind. That could cause tracing problems with electricity between these two terminals. We don't want that. You can actually discharge the battery as it's sitting. So make sure it's nice and clean. Now, once the battery's nice and clean, we want to protect the terminal ends. For that, we use Permatex Battery Protector. Again, make sure you shake it up really good. Take it, spray it on your terminal ends, get a good coating on there, move your boots away if you have to really get a good coating in there. Let that sit in there for about 5 minutes or so. After that, you might want to look again, make sure you don't miss any spots. If so, touch them up. Now, what I've done, I've got my battery full of water, my terminals are nice and tight, the connections are nice and clean. Now what you want to do also is check the other end of the cables. This negative cable here goes to the body ground. If there's any kind of dirt or corrosion on here, what you want to do is take the brush, clean it off, make sure that's nice and clean, and you could add a little bit of spray protector onto that also to keep any kind of rust problems from giving you any problems. So that right there, that battery's ready to go. One little tech tip I want to share with you. If by chance your battery is not serviceable anymore and you've got to change the battery in the car, here's a tech tip that is very important. Whenever you're removing a battery from a vehicle, battery cable negative side comes off first, then the positive cable comes off second when removing the battery. When reinstalling the battery, the positive cable goes on first, then the negative cable goes on second. The reason why is, like I mentioned earlier, you really don't want a wrench on a positive cable working with it when the negative's hooked up. If you push the wrench over too far, or it slips and moves out of your hand, it can short across a piece of metal. That could blow fuses or inline fusible links, circuit breakers, and so forth like that. But anyway, this battery here is good shape. We didn't need to change it, so it's good for another 6 months, and we'll look at it again then. I'm Chris Fox at Permatex, and thanks for watching.